August 1917. A stone jail in Orem, Portugal. Lucia dos Santos is 10 years old. Her two cousins, Francisco, 8, and Jacinta, 7, are somewhere behind a door she cannot see past. A government official has just taken Jacinta out first. He said the vat is ready. Lucia does not know if her cousin is still alive. Here is what she knows. A few months earlier, something appeared to 3 children in a sheep field. Something so bright she had no word for it. It gave her 3 secrets. And now a man in a press suit is offering her a simple exit. Say it was a lie. Say you invented it. You walk home to your mother tonight. She doesn't take it. You have heard of Fatima, maybe a statue on a grandmother's shelf, maybe a word vaguely tethered to something Portuguese and Catholic and very far from your life. But this is not that story. This is about what happens when you see something no one around you sees, and the world requires you to unsee it. When the easiest sentence in any language, "I made it up," would stop the pain, and you refuse to say it. 70,000 people will stand in the mud and watch the sky break apart. A pope will take a bullet on the exact anniversary. A sealed envelope will sit inside a Vatican desk for 41 years, while the planet argues about what is written on the paper. But before any of that, there is a 10-year-old girl sitting on a stone floor, listening for her cousin's voice, and choosing the oil. The through line is this: what happens next, after you refuse to look away? October 13th, 1917. Cova da Iria. Avelino de Almeida arrives early. He is the chief editor of O Século, Portugal's largest secular newspaper, aligned with the anti-clerical government. He is here to write the final obituary of this peasant hysteria. 70,000 people stand in a field of mud. It has been raining for hours, the kind of rain that fills your shoes, that makes wool coats heavy enough to pull at your shoulders. Avelino has a notebook. He has a reputation. He has, in every sense, already written the headline in his head. Noon passes. The children kneel. And then the clouds tear open. The sun drops out of its fixed place. It spins. It throws color across the valley. Violet, then yellow, then a red that prints itself onto the faces and hands and soaked clothing of every person in the field. People scream. People drop to their knees in mud that is, and this detail stops everything, no longer wet. Dr. Almeida Garrett, a professor of sciences at Coimbra, is standing in the crowd. He will later write a clinical report, not about the light, about his coat. Minutes earlier, it was so waterlogged he could feel the fabric pulling at the seams. Now it is dry, completely, inexplicably dry, as though heat passed through the fibers without touching his skin first. Avelino does not kneel. He stands still. He watches. He has spent a career building a wall between what educated men accept and what peasants claim. That wall is gone. He is standing where it used to be, with a wet notebook that is now dry, and a headline he can no longer write. He goes home. He sits at his desk, and he publishes what he saw. His colleagues tear him apart. The secular press mocks him by name. He could retract. He could write a careful paragraph about atmospheric optics, mass suggestion, the unreliability of memory under emotional pressure. Any of those words would save him. 2 weeks later, he publishes a second article, shorter than the first. He does not convert. He does not theologize. He writes one line that outlasts everything else he ever printed. He saw it. He cannot explain what he saw, but he will not say he didn't. A man who built his life on skepticism, choosing to lose his peers rather than deny his own eyes. Now hold that, and move forward 42 years. August 1959, the Vatican. An envelope sits on the desk of Pope John the 23rd. It has traveled from a convent in Tui, Spain, to a bishop's safe in Leiria, to the Vatican secret archives. Inside is a single sheet of paper, or perhaps more than one. The discrepancy will later fuel decades of suspicion. Written by Lucia in January 1944, when she was so ill she believed she was dying. She had set one condition: open it in 1960. By then, she said, it will appear clearer. John the 23rd opens the envelope a year early. He reads. The room is quiet. Whatever is on that paper, it was written by a woman who, as a child, chose a vat of hot oil over 6 words of denial. He puts the paper back. He seals the envelope. He issues a single statement. The contents do not concern the years of his pontificate. The world waits for 1960. January passes. February. March. No announcement. No revelation. The Vatican says nothing. The silence is so total it becomes louder than any disclosure could have been, and the question that still has no answer begins to form. What did he read that was easier to bury than to speak? Francisco and Jacinta were the ones the Virgin chose. They were also the ones she let die. Not peacefully, not surrounded by angels. Francisco, 9 years old, drowned slowly in his own lungs from the Spanish flu in 1919. Jacinta, 7, was taken to a Lisbon hospital alone, operated on without anesthesia, and died in a room where no one she loved could reach her. Their families prayed. The prayers were not answered, not in the way prayer is supposed to work. The two children closest to heaven received the same biological horror as every other child in Europe that year. No exception, no rescue, no visible hand. The miracle did not protect its own witnesses. And that, not the spinning sun, not the sealed envelope, is the detail that will not let you go. You know this shape. You might not have stood in a Portuguese field, but you have carried something true that no one around you wanted to hear. Maybe it was smaller, a diagnosis you saw coming before the doctor confirmed it, a fracture in your family everyone else pretended wasn't there, a moment at work when you understood something was deeply wrong, and the room full of people above you needed you to stay quiet. The research calls it the whistleblower parallel. An engineer discovers a catastrophic flaw in a reactor. The corporation locks them under a non-disclosure agreement. They are interrogated, threatened with career destruction, and every day they walk past colleagues who smile and drink coffee 10 meters from a crack no one is willing to name. Lucia lived inside that shape for 86 years. After the visions were validated, the church didn't free her, it sealed her. A Carmelite convent, strict silence, forbidden from speaking about the apparitions without explicit Vatican permission. The institution consumed the messenger to protect the message. She died at 97, having spent more time in enforced quiet than most people spend alive. Here is what Fatima encodes. Beneath the rosaries and the pilgrimages and the geopolitical prophecy. It is not a story about the sun moving. It is a record of what it costs to hold a truth that the powerful find inconvenient. Lucia paid with her childhood. Avellino paid with his reputation. Francisco and Jacinta paid with something worse. They paid with the silence of the very power that had spoken to them. And the question you carry out of this is not whether the sun danced over Portugal in 1917. It is this. If you have ever seen something clearly, something true, something that rearranged the ground beneath you, and the room full of reasonable people needed you to unsay it, what did you do with that moment? Did you speak, or did you let it seal itself inside you? One more envelope locked in a desk, waiting for a year that never comes. There is a practice at Fatima that cameras rarely linger on. Pilgrims cross the esplanade on their knees. Not a few steps, the full length, from the road to the Capellina. The marble is polished smooth by decades of this. It takes a long time. It hurts exactly as much as it looks like it hurts. A middle-aged man made this crossing. He had terminal cancer. He was not there to ask for healing. He told a priest beforehand what he wanted. He wanted the terror to stop. Not the tumor, the terror. The kind that sits on your chest at 3 in the morning and makes the ceiling feel like a lid. He described it later as a scream that never left his throat. He crossed the esplanade. His knees bled through his trousers. He reached the chapel. He stood up. The cancer did not leave. He died 3 months later. His widow confirmed this in her own testimony. The medical record did not change. But he said something to his family that week that they remembered precisely because it made no medical sense. He said the panic was gone. Not reduced, gone. As though someone had reached into his ribcage and removed an object that had been lodged there for months. He did not call it a miracle. He called it being ready. His body remained in the same condition. His relationship to that condition did not. 2 facts. No causal claim between them. You decide what to do with the space in between. People come to this image when they are holding something they cannot prove and cannot release. A grief that has no witness. A knowledge that isolates them. A truth that the people closest to them would rather not hear. The sanctuary of Our Lady of Fatima stands at Cova da Iria, Portugal. The original Capelinha das Apparições, rebuilt after it was dynamited by anti-clerical extremists in 1922, marks the exact spot where a holm oak tree once stood in a field where 3 children kept sheep. The feast day is May 13th. Muslims visit this shrine as well. The name Fatima belongs also to the Prophet Muhammad's daughter, one of the most revered women in Islam. Catholic and Islamic pilgrims pray at the same site, in their own traditions, without institutional permission or theological reconciliation. The ground does not ask for credentials. There is a detail about May 13, 1981, that doesn't belong in any rational framework. Pope John Paul II was shot by a professional assassin. The bullet missed the abdominal aorta by a fraction measured in millimeters. He survived. He later sent that bullet to Fatima. It was placed into the crown of the statue of Our Lady, into a hollow space beneath the small cross at the top. The crown had been crafted decades earlier. The bullet fit as though the space had been waiting for it. A hollow made before the wound existed. A wound that filled a hollow no one could explain. You can dismiss that as coincidence. You can file it alongside the dry coats and the sun that moved without moving. But there is a moment, and maybe you have already passed through it, when coincidence stops being a comfortable word and starts being a way of not looking directly at the thing in front of you. Fatima is not a story that answers questions. It is a story that removes the ordinary exits, the explanations that let you leave a room unchanged. A 10-year-old girl listened for her cousin's voice behind a locked door. She heard nothing. She stayed. You might never kneel on marble or stare at the sun through Portuguese rain, but you have stood in a room where staying silent was safer than speaking, where the reasonable thing, the adult, measured, professional thing, was to let the moment pass and move on. So here is what this story leaves you with. Not whether the sun moved, not whether the secret was complete, but this. When was the last time you refused to look away? And what did it cost you to keep your eyes open? If this reached something, subscribe. There are more of these. Not sermons, just doors you didn't know were there.